Once upon a time, two friends joined forces to bring you the best in horror entertainment. Brian from the north, Tim from the south, each bringing their own unique perspective to the horror community. Movie reviews, Blu-ray releases, beer pairings, games, and more. Welcome to your new home for horror. This is Civil Gore.
Hey there, everybody. Welcome to episode 126 of the Civil Gore podcast. I am your host, Tim.
And this is Brian, and I bet you guys for a second thought you were listening to the wrong podcast, but it wasn't. It was our exciting new opening that Tim and our good buddy Tom created, together as a collaboration, right?
Yeah, so I had this idea to refresh our intro because the music we originally used was kind of just taken off one of those free sound websites, and it required me to put I can't pronounce this word, attribution in each set of run notes of who made that music, which was fantastic music, don't get me wrong, but there was a licensing aspect to it. So I had been thinking for a while on just refreshing the intro, making it a little more professional, bringing it up more to our personality, because that was just a generic theme song.
Yeah.
And so I was trying to go for something. I found this site called Neo Sounds which licenses music, and you can actually pay for it and then use it unlimited. Well, at least up until like 10 million downloads, which I think we're in no danger of hitting anytime soon.
Yeah,
right?
I think we'll be okay.
that's like for NPR levels of podcasting. But
yeah.
So this one allows us to use this music free without having to do any kind of attribution in the show notes. And we were kind of going. I was kind of going for. I hope it came out this way, Brian. I was kind of going for like a haunted mansion theme because we're both theme park fans.
Oh wait, no, it's totally sounded like that. That's what, right when you sent me the test of it, I'm like, that's exactly what I thought.
Yeah, and I told Tom to I was like, think haunted mansion narrator, and he knew exactly what I was talking about.
Oh, because Tom's the best with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I thought it had a great like blend of like a little bit of Tim Burton in there. It was a little bit of Addams Family. I wanted to make it not too scary because this is a comedy podcast. Or at least me and Brian think it is.
Yeah.
I don't know if our listeners do.
we laugh at it.
We laugh at our jokes.
Yeah.
But so I tried to make it, sort of a horror comedy, just a whimsical edge to it. I thought the intro just captured that perfectly. So I hope you guys like it.
Yeah, and I think it did. I think Tim did a great job. So let him know, and if you want to help send him some proceeds for it. No, I'm only kidding. It's okay. It wasn't that bad, but it was funny. It was like when you were saying how we used to have a free one and that we used for free. I'm like, yeah, I guess we figured we weren't hemorrhaging enough money for the podcast, so let's let's buy something.
Well, thank goodness this is a one-time fee, so we never have to pay it again. So we can just use that forever.
That's true. It's like a Christmas gift to the podcast.
Yeah. And we have some other big changes coming to the podcast. Now, I know there's some of you out there, Cody, that don't want anything changed about Civil Gore, and I understand that. But in order to keep growing and making the show bigger and better, we have to change some things from time to time. And one thing Brian and I have been discussing a little bit behind the scenes for some time now is the dismemberment section, because it's always bothered me that the dismemberment section dates the podcast.
Yeah.
And a lot of podcasts you go out and listen to are what they call evergreen, which means you can listen to them at any time and there's no dating to it. You never feel like, oh, well, I missed out on the first 100 episodes of this podcast, so I might as well just give up and not listen to it. And we don't want people to feel that way. We want people to be able to go back into the archives and listen to any episode without it feeling so dated. So what we decided to do, we kicked around some ideas, and I think Brian's idea was absolutely brilliant, which was pull the dismemberment out into its own episode. And instead of doing it on a weekly basis, which just gets really time consuming, and also it makes the podcast uneven because you have some weeks that are 2 Blu-ray releases and some weeks that are 20.
Right.
And so you get this uneven flow, and we never could predict how long the shows were going to run because we might have a lot of content lined up in an interview, and then all of a sudden the dismemberment's 30 titles. And now we're looking at a 3-hour show. And then some days we wouldn't have much content and our dismemberment is 2 titles, and now we're looking at a 30-minute show. And it just was hard to gauge. So if we pull the dismemberment out to its own episode, not only does it give you guys the chance that want to hear about the Blu-ray releases for the upcoming month, you can get all of that in one episode. It allows us to have more time to talk about individual titles because we're not constrained by everything that came before and came after. It's going to allow us to do reviews of actual Blu-ray discs that we've received and watched. And also it's going to allow people that don't want that content, that current weekly content, to have a podcast that is evergreen and they can listen to any time because we're just discussing movies. So I hope you guys are okay with that format. We'll see how it goes. I mean, I'm not saying that people may hate it. We may hate it. I don't know. It's just a test. We're just trying it out. So we'll see how it goes, and you guys definitely give us your feedback on whether you like it or not.
Yeah, and it's kind of like you'll get a bonus podcast essentially a month too. You're getting now just one that you could just listen to for that, and then but like Tim said, if you're not really into Blu-rays, you don't have to listen to it all, but you still get your once a week podcast.
And I think also, Brian, one thing I was thinking about is I don't want people to think that it's going to subtract from our normal episodes. In fact, I think it's going to do quite the opposite because it's going to give us more time to talk about things in depth, movies in depth. It's going to give us more time to talk about things that we've watched, books that we've read. So you're really going to get more content or richer content overall in your normal episodes.
Yeah, no, and because even though it's like a fun, we do enjoy the Dismemberment because, that's a lot of our comedy will come from there and stuff like that. But what it does is it also sometimes like disrupts the flow of the show, and a lot of times we'll have a difficult time trying to place like an interview or a segment. Because, it's like sometimes, we'll go in and like there's an hour into the podcast and then we're first getting to the movie that the literally the episode is named after. And, it tends to not drag on is not the right word, but it tends to just kind of like it really does like kind of block the flow a little bit of the way the podcast should kind of go through. And so, but we don't want to give up the Dismemberment because actually that's one of the most consistent positives that we had is that people love the fact that we let people know what's coming out and when we do it. So it's just going to be all in one. You're going to get the whole month in one shot, which is probably at some level better because then it's like you get that bonus episode of all that's the dismemberments, but then each regular episode will flow through much faster with more content.
Yeah. So I think it's going to be a good change. So let's get right into our first chop of the new season, Brian. This is our first chop. Okay, Brian, so I think the first thing we have to do with our new season, coming back from the holidays, we have to talk about what we got for Christmas and Hanukkah.
Yes, we do.
At least on the horror front.
Yeah, just the horror front, because I got a bunch of other stuff that's, some beer-related stuff, some Star Wars-related stuff. But we did. But for this podcast, we'll just go strictly through the horror stuff, the stuff that really affects this podcast more than anything.
Yeah. So, Brian, I did not have a ton of horror gifts this year, but I didn't really ask for anything this year because we're getting ready. Like I said, we're getting ready to move. You're going to hear that a lot. We're getting ready to put the house on the market. So I didn't want a lot of stuff. So I wasn't asking for a lot of stuff. But I did get a couple of things I'm excited to share. And Brian, I know you got one of these yourself, I believe.
Yeah, it's funny. What I got Tim, I got myself as a gift. Or someone got me as a gift, so it was great.
So to me, that just shows that we're on the same page, right?
Yeah.
So Brian got me this wonderful gift. This is Taking Shape, Developing Halloween from Script to Scream. This is a book by Dustin McNeil and Travis Mullins. I cannot wait to dive into this. This is a 400-plus page book on the making of Halloween.
This was massive. I did not realize how massive it was till it
No.
arrived.
And you had told me about this book, and when I got it, I was completely dumbfounded because I was expecting like this 150-page pamphlet is what I was expecting. And when I got this thing, I was so excited because, like I've told you before, I'm going to start collecting nice horror books about horror movies. So this is another value gem in my collection.
Well, I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Yeah, absolutely loved it. The other one, I was so excited. I cannot believe Olivia ordered this for me, by the way. And that was House of Psychotic Women. This is a book by... this is an autobiographical topography of female neurosis in horror and exploitation films. This is by Keir La Jeunesse. And this thing is amazing. This is basically a treatise on Italian giallo films, is what it seems like most of it is. But I don't think it's just limited to that. Tons and tons. Almost every page has black and white photographs, posters. The print is tiny. I mean, there's a lot of content packed in this book. And this is a 350 plus page book.
Oh my
and I'm
God.
telling you, the print is microscopic. So the amount of content that is in here is astounding. It's even more than what 350 pages should contain.
Just for 2 Christmas gifts, you have like 900 pages to read.
I do. Yeah, it's going to be insane, but I am going to read them. And this it's just a cool looking book. The cover is fantastic. The back of it even has like this glossy, like the photos on the back. It's got a picture of Carrie on the back, and it's like this glossy, slick photo stuff. I don't know. It does have some center. If you look in the center, it's got a whole section of color film posters, scenes from Carrie. I mean, this is all about, psychotic women, as the title suggests, but not in a negative way. This is written, talking about the exploitation aspect of that in cinema. So, really, really neat book.
Oh, is the picture of when Carrie made her podcast happens to be in that book?
Maybe, if you guys remember that.
Yeah, that was a good one. That was I still to this day when I think of that little sketch, I laugh at that. We almost have to like just replay that for our newer listeners.
Oh my God.
Because it was like the most quickly put together sketch at the last possible minute that turned out to be probably, if not one of our favorites, the favorite.
And you should have seen all the laughing I had to edit out of us dying laughing trying to get through that.
Yeah, especially because it was so ridiculous yet perfect at the same time.
And we were so committed to our roles, too.
Yeah, that was what was weird. Like, why have all the like, we used to pride ourselves in our bad imitations. This one was like, we went so into it, like, method. Like we were, like, putting on nightgowns and stuff. It was weird. I don't know. Not really, but yeah.
Oh, that was funny. So that, and then that was my books. Kevin, my brother, gave me a fantastic Friday the 13th coffee mug. It's the one that has like the little spinning Jason hockey mask in the side.
I've seen that. That looks so cool. Yeah.
That thing is so super awesome. And then my mom got me a surprise, kind of horror-related gift. When she was down at Disney last year, back in November, she bought me a Haunted Mansion version of The Game of Life.
Oh, I've seen that.
Yeah,
that's cool.
The Game of Life is one of my favorites from my childhood. I had no clue they made a Haunted Mansion version. I don't even know if you can get it outside of the parks. I don't know. Some of you guys may be able to answer that.
Yeah, I think you might be able to get it online, possibly. But
I've never seen it in a store or anything.
Yeah, I haven't seen it in store. But remember, like I definitely remember seeing it on a shelf of some sort, which was probably when I was at Disneyland last summer. So it's probably when I saw it. But the Game of Life is one of my favorites. I actually saw a version of it the other day. It was like the original version, like redone.
Well, that's good.
It was at Barnes and Nobles.
The remake is horrible. Like the modern version is just garbage. It's total garbage. So yeah, if you ever see if you do want to play the Game of Life, try to find one of those like retro reprints where they did the original, because that's the only good version.
Speaking of that, has anyone ever done like a real horror themed one of it where like everything is horror themed, like oh, you've just been like slaughtered by Jason or something, or slaughtered by a serial. Like that would be an interesting take. If you like they have those USA-opolis, like maybe you could make like a USA Life version of it. Is that our first Kickstarter?
Are you going to go to Crystal Lake or are you going to Haddonfield? That's your choice.
Right? Yeah. Wouldn't that be cool if they did that?
That would be super.
I mean, the licenses alone would be fortune,
God,
but you could obviously take like do other ones, like like this no name, nondescript kind of wink wink nod nod, like who we're talking about.
Yeah. So what'd you get, Brian?
Cool. So I'll first start with what you got me, because so Tim not only gave I have to say he started me on this path two holidays ago. When he bought me that last Friday game, and he really got me into to getting interested in board games. But I don't think it was until I bought Horrified and we played at that time, to where I started to get hooked on the board game thing. Now I literally he I told him the other day, we went into Barnes and Noble, and the first place I went was to the game section. It used to be magazines. Now I went direct to the board game section and spent like 20 minutes just going through every game. And I was texting Tim. I'm like, hey, did you see this one? Did you see this one? He's like, yep, I have it. Or I saw this one or this. And I find what I'm attracted to the games with a lot of cool pieces to it. So it's funny.
Oh, yeah,
and this one did not disappoint. I haven't tried it yet, but I plan on. I have it all set up. Like I popped out all the pieces because I find that's like fun for me now is getting all prepped and looking at all the things. That's the Reign of Cthulhu, which I guess is a version of Pandemic too, right?
Right. So Pandemic, I'll give you a little background. Pandemic is probably the first, actually it is the first cooperative game I ever played. And the original Pandemic, you're trying to cure 4 diseases that are spreading all over the globe. And the mechanic behind Pandemic is you have your team who have different roles with different abilities, just like Horrified, and you're trying to stop spreads of something in each version of Pandemic. In base Pandemic, you're trying to stop diseases, and they can outbreak, and you're trying to run around and try to contain these diseases until you can find all the cures and win the game. And they have made countless variations of Pandemic. There's one that takes place in Norway where you're trying to stop floodwaters. There's one Pandemic Iberia, which takes place in the early 20th century, where it's similar. You're trying to stop disease outbreaks, but you're limited in your transportation options because it's so early in the century. You have one called Rise of Rome, where you're trying to stop barbarians from invading Rome. So there's all these different flavors of Pandemic. However, there's one flavor of Pandemic that is my absolute favorite, and I've said this before, even before I got into horror to the extent that I am now, and that is Pandemic Reign of Cthulhu. This is their Cthulhu-themed version of Pandemic, and it's much, much more than a reskin of the base game. They didn't just slap a Cthulhu title on it and change the artwork. They really made some changes to the mechanics in which it's a little easier to get around than base Pandemic in terms of jumping from area to area. But it's still hard because you have these elder gods that are starting to enter into the gameplay. And the longer you go on, the more their impact is going to have on your game. And typically a negative impact, as you might expect. And instead of stopping diseases this time, you're stopping these gates, these cultists from opening these gates and spawning monsters and bringing the elder gods into your world. So it's got a great, great horror theme. But most importantly, the game mechanics, to me, are the best version of Pandemic out there.
Yeah, I haven't found a playthrough yet, because I want to find a playthrough on it. But I do say all the cultists, like little figures that it comes with, are pretty cool. Like all those little like things. But yeah, I'm waiting for a playthrough. I don't think they did it on Game the Game. And that's another thing I have to say. Thanks to Tim now, not only do I like start collecting games, but now I'm playing them and I'm watching other people play them. In fact, I was the other day, I was like, usually when I when I get into bed, I like have my iPad and I'll watch put on a movie or something and fall asleep. Now I'm watching like Game the Game with Becca Scott and her crew. And Julie walked in the room. She got into bed. She looks at it. She goes, "Are you watching people play board games?" I'm like, "Yeah." And I'm like, she's like, "What?" She kind of looked at me. I said, "Well, it's they play through it, so it's like you get a good idea how to play the game." I said, "Tim was telling me about that." So she was just shaking her head. But then she has a little beef with you now because she now sees that she sees another collection spawning.
Oh God,
which is the last thing I needed. And it was funny. So not only did I get this awesome game from Tim, which I can't wait to try, I got I actually bought I had a gift card for someone at work for $25 at Target, and that happened to be that week I got that Jaws, the board game, was on sale at Target for $22. So
nice. Yeah, I missed out on that one. I should have grabbed that when it was cheap, but I'll get it eventually. It'll go back on sale.
Oh yeah, no, it seems to go. I think that's like the third time it's been on that price, so definitely check that out. So I'm gonna get. So Jaws looks super fun. I watched the playthrough of that. That looks fun. So I have that. So now I have this literally now a stack of games. There was one game that was in this pile, and that was the last Friday game. Now I have that, Jaws, Horrified, Reign of Cthulhu, that Star Wars Death Star game. Then Cone gave me like this weird US game. that he didn't want anymore. So now I literally have this big stack of games next to my desk. So Julie, I think, is getting a little nervous, especially when she saw me salivating over the games at Barnes & Noble.
Yeah, I actually own over 90 at this point. And they are taking up my entire closet. And that's not good, but...
hence the move. No, I'm only kidding.
Yeah, hence the move. We had to get a bigger house to host my board game collection. So,
well,
that's how it starts.
And you know what's fun, too? The funny thing is I wanted to get... There was this other one I'm like, have my eye on. I forgot the name of it, thank God. Right off the top of my head.
Frankenstein one?
Yes, that was it. The Frankenstein
Abomination, Heir of Frankenstein.
It's much cheaper on Amazon. It's only $41 on Amazon. It was like $60 at Barnes & Noble, but $41 on Amazon. So it's already in my saved list for the next time I decide to go purchase it. Because that thing has like 1,000 pieces in it.
Yeah, you're like me, Brian. I'm a sucker for anything with lots of miniatures and lots of cards and lots of things to punch out. I love it.
What did you do to me, Tim?
I don't know. Well, see, the first hit is free, and then you got to start paying up.
Yeah.
And you know what, Brian? I included a note in that game. I don't know if you saw it, but it said, time to up your game. Because I consider Reign of Cthulhu the next level of Horrified. So it's a little bit more strategic, a little more advanced, and I think you can handle it. So.
I know. I think I can. Well, actually, while we're on that, before I get to the rest of my gifts, since you just mentioned Horrified, Julie and I played around last night, and again, I think we may have inadvertently cheated, just because Horrified has a lot of rules to it that are pretty basic, but then each monster has its own set of rules,
right,
so to speak. So what had happened is we ended up. We did random. 2 monsters. We ended up getting Frankenstein and the Bride, or the Frankensteins, as I like to say, and Wolfman. And I can't remember if we played the Wolfman, he was one of the monsters that we played when you, Ken, and I played. I can't remember. But I don't think it was, because I don't remember having to do this thing. So, as in case our listeners don't know, I know, Tim, you're well aware. So to get this, you need 6 total of the blue tokens, 1, 2, and 3 twice. So their values at 1, 2, and 3. So what I did is, when on one of my turns, I landed in the laboratories where you can play these said pieces, and I had 2 blues, so I played 2 blues at once, and I think I was only supposed to play 1 per turn rather than 2 per turn, because how sometimes you can usually use, like on certain things, you can use as many tokens as you have, like for Dracula, so I don't know if that was, it was inadvertent. I think we only did it once. The other times we did 1 at a time. So I don't know if that was a cheat. We ended up winning, and we had about 15 cards left in the deck.
Oh, yeah, you would have won anyway.
And we only were at a terror level of 3 or something like that.
Yeah, so you're ready to bump it up to 3 monsters for sure.
Yeah, I think next time. Well, I don't know, because Julie's still getting, remember, that was only her second game she's ever played. Oh. So, but, and like she didn't, it was funny, she didn't remember the rule, that you could pass on stuff. But she had that great, ability with her player. I think she's not the explorer, I was the archaeologist, or as Becca Scott would say, the architectologist. But Julie had the one where you can jump to any monster space as your special ability.
Yeah, that's a good one.
So, which was great when it was to kill the Wolfman. So basically, she went to me first. I shared my the 6 red that she needed, and she already had the antidote, and then she jumped to the Wolfman space to finish him off. So it was kind of cool. But that's the one thing, is I still I find myself not having to double check certain rules with stuff like that, so because it's tricky.
Every interact is 1 action. So yeah, you would have normally had to use 2 actions to play 2 tokens down on the Wolfman.
Okay, but now, let's say for Dracula, remember, when to go kill him, as long as you have enough tokens that add up to 6, you can kill him. So that's where it gets confusing. That's why I think I got confused with this one.
Yeah, I think if you look at it as anytime you wish to advance the goal of killing the monster, it's an action. So
okay, but the final death blow could be.
It doesn't matter how many tokens you use to accomplish that. The death blow, it just means you have to have enough tokens adding up to a certain number, and you're playing them kind of as a unit. So
Right.
that's
Okay.
one action. But in the case of the Wolfman, you're putting 2 different items down on him, so that takes 2 different actions.
Right. So basically, I guess the best way to remember it is anytime you're using the monster mat, that's like that you can only do it's per turn.
Yeah.
But like I guess on board you can do it. I guess if you can remember it like that, it's actually much easier.
Yeah,
to remember.
And you'll get it with
Okay.
more plays. You'll. I've played that game so many times now because a buddy of mine and he comes over occasionally at lunchtime to play, and we'll try to sneak in a game at lunch. Of course, we're now trying to play. We're trying to beat 4 monsters, which we have not yet done.
Oh my! Well, you, Ken, and I came close, and I realized another. Did I tell you this when I thought of it? It was funny. It was watching the game version playing it actually, where I realized somewhere down the road we probably made that tactical error. We should have just allowed ourselves one of us to get killed because you still keep the items, and our terror level at that point was still on the low side. We were running out of the time, the cards, the monster phase. So if we would have and remember at one point we were needed to use a turn to pick up items, where if we maybe have just let one of us died and just start at the hospital, it may have ended up balancing out. So that's actually, and that was a strategy we used last night. When I looked, I'm like, okay, well all I have left to defend is the 6 red piece, which I can't give up because that's what the death blow was. And it would and actually by dying and starting in the hospital and only knocking a terror level up 1, it allowed me to be closer to where Julie happened to be on the board so she could get to me and finish him off in the final move. So sometimes actually sacrificing yourself is the better move.
Yeah.
So that's why this game is so fascinating to me, because there is so much strategy involved in it.
Yeah, and you're constantly balancing one of probably 4 or 5 different things that you're trying to balance at one time.
Yeah.
It's like spinning a bunch of plates in the air. It's really cool.
Yeah, and that perk card, when to use it is the key, and it was so funny. And we had the advantage of almost every monster phase. Like, I swear to God, every monster phase was no more items on the board. It was crazy. We had so many zeros, but yet we also never really had adding villagers. And the 2 times we had villagers, they happened to be right by where we needed to take them off, and we took them off every time. It was
Sometimes you get
funniest
lucky.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we got lucky like that. But anyway, we'll move on because this is not a gaming show. Although we should just have a game-centric show one time.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll get some special guests on in the gaming community.
We'll call it Civil Board.
Yeah, oh, I like it. There you go. Civil Board. That'll be a spin-off. But yeah, we'll get back to that too. But so anyway, that was the other guy. I got Tim's awesome game. He got me Reign of Cthulhu, and I also got the Jaws game. As for and the book I got was it's funny. My mom had got me the same book I got Tim, which I was kind of excited because as I was so excited to send that to Tim, but I was also a little sad it was leaving. And I was like, oh, you know what? I need to buy this too because this looks cool. Because when I saw the size of it, I'm like, I need to get this book. And sure enough, I ended up getting it I guess a week later when I got got it for as my holiday gift. Blu-rays I did pretty well, I think. So I ended up getting for my sister-in-law and brother-in-law, I got the Omen box set, that really cool one.
Oh, that's nice.
That I wanted to get. Yeah, so I got that. Seth got me, actually. Seth and Celia got me Christmas Evil and House of the Devil, which
nice.
were both Blu-rays I wanted to have in my collection. House of the Devil just always I wanted, and then since we saw Christmas Evil, I saw they had that great Shout Factory or Scream Factory version. I'm like, I need to get that one. So I got that. Then funny, somehow on my wish list, I had House of the Devil listed as needing 2 copies of it. So I got it again. So, but I traded that in for Phantom of the Paradise.
Nice.
That was the same price. So now I have beef in my house because we needed to have that. But and then I did treat myself to a little present. I bought because I'm obsessed with this movie now. And that's Anna the Apocalypse. There's not a good version out in the U.S. There was a single disc version that was out for it seems like a couple of weeks, and then even Amazon has it occasionally, but and then it's pretty expensive now. However, there's a UK version which is region free, which is what's important out of this.
Right. And
they sold it from Diabolic DVD, which is a place in New Jersey. And so Steve Cohn and I actually jumped on this. And it's actually not bad. I think it was only $24. And it's a great 2-disc version. Has 3 versions of the film on it.
Wow.
Plus it has the original zombie musical short, which this was based on, has some behind-the-scenes stuff, some deleted scenes. The pamphlet that comes inside of it is all the lyrics to the songs. Plus, it has a feature-length documentary on the making of it, which I watched over the weekend, and that is fantastic. Especially if you love this movie, to see how they went into it and just all the little differences they made. And I actually watched the European version cut of it, and there's some noticeable differences. Julie's like, how did you notice that was different? I'm like, well, because I watched the original version like 10 times already in the past 2 weeks, because I'm, like I said, I am obsessed with this movie. I'm not don't judge me. I loved it. And so the documentary of it was fantastic. It was really cool. And I just learned a lot about the movie and a lot of cool little tidbits on that. So that was a little treat to myself. So that's definitely something, if you're a fan of the movie, you're going to want to get.
Yeah, nice. Well, we cannot. I know this is a horror podcast, but we cannot not talk about Rise of Skywalker, because Brian and I both saw it opening day. We'll
try not to do spoilers, even though I'm sure everyone who wants to see it has seen it. No,
I won't do spoilers.
But we won't do spoilers.
I went to see it with a coworker of mine that I have gone and seen almost all the Star Wars movies except for I think I missed seeing Force Awakens with him because of some other commitment. But I did see Last Jedi with him. I saw Phantom Menace, all the prequels with him. We always go to the theater to see him. He's a huge Star Wars fan, and I really, really enjoyed it. Had a fantastic time at the movies. Now, I probably had more criticisms of the movie than Brian does, only because I had more criticisms of The Force Awakens, and this is basically The Force Awakens 2. I mean, this is J.J. Abrams all day long, and if you like that, you're going to absolutely love this movie, and I do like that, don't get me wrong. But, on the other hand, I also really enjoyed The Last Jedi, and I was hoping this wouldn't be such a course correction where it almost seems like I really, really wish Disney had just let J.J. Abrams, or if he'd been willing to do it, just do all three films, because I think they would have been much more cohesive. I think slapping Rian Johnson in the middle just really upset the apple cart, and that is the only reason this film is flawed, in my opinion, is because J.J. had to go back and try to fix everything The Last Jedi upset. I'm not saying that The Last Jedi's upsets were necessarily bad, but in the scheme of the entire trilogy, in hindsight, they were bad, because I think they messed up. But given that, he did a phenomenal job tying up loose ends and doing everything in his power to wrap up this trilogy in a satisfying way. So props to him for that.
Yeah, he had a difficult task, and now, it's like at the time we're recording this, now there's all this stuff about how he had 40 more minutes that he was forced to cut. So there's all these kind of crazy things going out there, but we won't get into that. That's a whole nother podcast. And maybe we'll do a bonus one just if we have some time later on, maybe around when the Blu-ray comes out or something, to go into this more depth. But I will say I am a massive Star Wars fan, of course, if you haven't been able to tell from this podcast. So I probably am way more forgiving than things, but the thing is, I go into the Star Wars movies with a specific mindset. I don't look for problems. I want to forget them. I go in to capture that feeling that I got from when I saw the original back when I was a child. And the fact, and I was thinking, it's like, I love this movie. I mean, for the movie itself, I thought it was a great ride. There were some just sequences that now I will say I've seen this 7 times.
Wow.
In the theater. 7 times. I saw it 5 times in the first 24 hours. So I mean, what is funny? It got to the point where there were certain scenes that I couldn't wait to see again. There was just overall, and I was getting excited every time I went to see it, to each viewing, I was more excited. So it was, I didn't care. I mean, sure, there were some things that probably, if I really want to sit and study, sure, that this is kind of you want to say a plot hole or confusing. But you know what though? If you go back, and I saw a great article, some articles on this too. They're like, why, if you went to look back at the original 3, and imagine the original 3 came out, and I'm talking about episodes 4, 5, and 6, came out today with the internet and all this going on, they would not be received as well as they have. And it's like I just know that that's the case because there's just too many voices out there that can influence your love of things. But besides that, that's not. I am bringing out the soapbox though. I'll warn everybody, but it has not. It's not that. It's not about that part because I will never tell people what they can and cannot like. I mean, of course, who am I to say that? Because then I'm just as guilty as anything else. But I just happen to love it. I thought just non-spoiler thing, but Billy D. Williams. I saw the best impersonation. They said, I've never seen someone have more fun playing a role than Billy D had as Lando in this movie.
Yeah.
I mean, every line he has like a laughter, and it's like, just when he's like, good to see you, old buddy, just the enthusiasm of like it was to me, it was infectious. And just scenes like that to me summed up like what I loved about the movie and what I love about Star Wars. I mean, and now here's something too that I was thinking of. What was so great is like that, the fact that like I saw the original back, when I was a kid, and my best friend and I, Mark, basically we were mortal enemies in Hebrew school when we first met, and we realized that then we went to the same school, the elementary school, and we bonded when we realized we were both huge Star Wars fans. So the fact that now we're as kids, what brought us together is, that started our friendship. And now we're still seeing that movie in our mid to late 40s, and seeing what started our friendship at some level to, culminate. I mean, to me, that you can't replace that. So that magic was there through the movie for me, and all those memories, bringing I remember when my mom at the time let her boyfriend at the time take me out of school to see Empire Strikes Back on opening day, So Star Wars to me is not just a series of films. There's a lot tied in. So maybe that's why I go into it with different expectations as I would other films. But anyway, so now I'm going to bring out the soapbox. I may even have to bring two and pile on top of each other for this next segment. I'll make it quick. I'll try not to get too lengthy with it. But the one thing that I think I cannot stand anymore is you see it all over, is this toxic fandom. And it's not just in Star Wars, it's in other things, but it's really hitting me hard with Star Wars because I focus so much on it. But, like I said, you could have problems with this movie. Tim has said he's had some issues with it. One of my brothers has been nothing but pointing out the different plot holes that he sees and the mistakes or things that he didn't. But and that's fine. Like I said, but some of the toxic stuff that I see online is disgusting. Like there's someone that I follow on social media, Maud Garrett. She does Geek Bomb. You may have seen her. She's does fan show and stuff, and she's a huge Star Wars fan. And she was there at the premiere, and she posted how much she loved it and every comment was like, shill. Of course you're gonna say that because Disney sent you there and you want to stay there. And well, I guess that's what happens when you sleep with everyone in Hollywood. And I mean, that is just so demeaning and so disgraceful because someone liked the movie. I mean, granted, even if she hated it, yeah, she may be diplomatic about saying it because she does want to, stay in good favor, let's say. But, how disrespectful is that? To just bash someone like that, and like that. And then the whole thing and then same thing happened with, I saw Becca Scott had posted, she's from Game to Game, which is Tim and I are big fans of course. She posted that was her favorite of the trilogy, and people were saying like all nasty things about it. They're like, well, what would you know? And all this stuff, and just really insulting stuff. And that, to me, that just is why are you taking something that's so fun, like the world of Star Wars in a movie, and using it to just bash people on the internet? I don't get it. And I see it with other fans doing it to other fans. And one final thing I'll say, Tim, and then if you want to jump in on any of this too, it's the one thing I can't stand is when I say, oh, well, Kathleen Kennedy ruined Star Wars, J.J. Abrams ruined Star Wars now, Rian Johnson ruined Star Wars, Lucasfilm. You know what? You know who ruined Star Wars? You people who are allowing this stuff to so-called ruin it for you. Nothing's ruining it. You're ruining it for yourself.
Yeah. I was shocked when my my brother was telling me about an incident yesterday. Actually, we went out to play disc golf, and he was telling me about how he had lost a disc up in a tree, and this will make sense in a minute, I promise. He lost a disc up in a tree, and so he posted on the disc golf message board, "Hey, I lost this disc up in the tree. If it happens to blow down, anybody finds it, please let me know." That's all he posted. Just a little ask for help, and the negative comments he got back.
What? For that?
Yeah, somebody posted, You're playing a sport where you throw things at other things. Why can't you just throw something up there and get it? And then somebody else was posting, "Why the hell are you throwing that kind of disc on this course anyway?" I mean, just nasty comments for no reason. Literally no reason. There's no reason. Like, if you don't have something nice to say, don't say anything. I don't know why people feel the need to make other people feel bad for literally no reason. And that's one of the things you bring up a good point, Brian. If you like the movie, that's great. And if you don't like the movie, that's great. And you feel perfectly free to state your opinion, which I did. On many message forums, I said, this is what I loved about Rise of Skywalker. This is what I didn't like about it. But I never once said, you shouldn't be thinking that way, or you shouldn't be thinking this way, or you shouldn't like it, or you should like it. I said what I thought about it, and I left it at that. And that's fine. If you want to state your opinion on the internet, that's fine. But be kind to other people. Don't tell them what they need to think. It's not up to you. And there's going to be every form of media. There's going to be somebody out there that absolutely loves it. There's going to be somebody out there that absolutely hates it. And I've gotten to the point, and I think it clicked when I hit my 40s, Brian. It probably did for you too. I finally hit the point where I said, I don't give a damn what anybody else thinks about what I listen to or what I watch or what and so if I want to blast Taylor Swift out of my car as a 45-year-old guy, I will do so. I don't care anymore. It doesn't matter to me. I don't care what other people think about what I listen to or what I like or what I don't like. Life's too short for that. Be kind to people. Be nice to people.
Yeah, but then the and it's not even like that. It gets nasty, like with stuff like that. Like when they criticize, but then when they like totally discredit someone's full career, and I don't know what it's based off of. I mean, it's like what. I mean, just because, I swear to God, the fact that the internet gives everybody a voice, it's good and it's bad. It's so bad at the same time. It's like anything. I swear to God, it's like that obviously the saying. This is why we can't have nice things. Yeah. I mean, this is the perfect example. It's or the worst is when someone makes a comment. And then someone will just harp on the point, like the same point that they've been trying to do for 1,500 hours of something where they're like, or be like, if I see one person say, "Oh yeah, I just saw Rise of Skywalker, I thought it was okay," and then the hashtag this, I don't want to say it because in case people didn't see it yet, but there's a hashtag that goes around involving Adam Driver's character, that's been or they're or hashtag now something about negative about J.J. Abrams, and I'm like,
Well, I read a good article on tribalism without getting too far into politics here, but there is a trend towards tribalism that has been happening for decades now in this country. And tribalism is when it's us versus them. It's an us versus them mentality.
Yeah.
My people are okay as long as they believe what I believe. Those people are the enemy because they don't believe what I want to believe. And it is very toxic. It's very dangerous. And I would just caution anybody, when you start thinking about painting people in very broad strokes like that, or somebody's telling you how to think about some other type of people, really step back and ask yourself, do I believe that? Or am I being told to believe it? Or am I engaged in some form of tribalism where I'm taking an us versus them mentality where I'm calling them the enemy because they don't think how I think. So just caution, if you learn to recognize that, you'll start seeing it everywhere. I mean, it's always been a sports team thing. That's always been friendly tribalism. But people kind of take that in stride. That's kind of just a fun thing. But it gets really dangerous when you could argue it's pop culture. It's not really has real world consequences, but in some ways it kind of does because it leads into bullying and it leads into all sorts of things. So.
Literally, it chased two actresses from the movie off of social media.
Yeah, so,
and it's like and it demeans their whole thing, and then it gets ugly and really just violent and threatening. And I'm like, this is disgusting. Like, what happened to the regular Star Wars fandom, and well, like I said, we shouldn't probably go on much more of this because basically, we just really should be a whole nother episode on if we want to do in Star Wars and this whole phenomenon anyway. But yeah, that's just that's why I kind of felt like I had to get on the soapbox just for that element, because I know we've said it before with different there was I think someone got bullied online about something else. I can't remember. We talked about it a couple of months. And it just, to me, that's just so frustrating because it's like, it's like some people, maybe that is their way. Maybe they're too shy, and then that's their way to try and have conversation. And then for them to open themselves up like that, for someone else to just come and bash them and make them feel horrible and insult them. It's so unacceptable. It's just like, I swear, there's a couple times where I was saying, you know what, I don't even want to be on. If it wasn't for the horror podcast, I'd probably be off of social media altogether.
Yeah, and I know, man, I've got several friends that completely abandoned social media. Completely.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I know some that don't do it, and I'm like, and it's funny, like someone even said, like, well, why do you go on there then? I'm like, I'm doing it for the podcast. I'm trying to do, but you still see it. But I have to say, the horror community actually hasn't been as bad as some of the other communities that I've seen out there. It's actually pretty good, the horror community. Yeah. I mean, mostly I see, like, I rarely see the stuff that I see in other communities.
Yeah,
which is kind of nice.
I've had a rule for some time now with social media is I will never post anything on social media that I would not say to your face. And people have asked me in the past, why do you have people from work on your Facebook, or why do you have people from work on your Twitter? Why do you accept friend requests from people at work, because they might see what you're posting? And my response to that is, if I'm posting something that I can't show to a coworker, then I don't need to be posting it. So I invite those people on specifically because it keeps me in line, it keeps me in check, and it keeps me thinking about what I post before I post it. And everybody needs to do that. If you would not be willing to say that to that person's face, right in their face, don't post it. That's my advice.
And just a capper on that too is like that's the thing too, that I won't ever engage in those kind of debates. Like, there's so many times I'll see those fights and I want to jump in. I'm like, why? What is it going to do? It's just going to get me involved in something I don't want to be involved in. I got to tell you this. I know my opinions, and that's all I need to know.
I got embroiled in a stupid console war discussion. This is back during the PS4 Xbox console war thing, and I got sucked into it, and I got sucked into it so hard I let it get to me, and I engaged with a guy that was probably trolling, and I got so mad that it really ruined my day. And not only did it do that, it ruined. I got kicked off of the forum, got banned.
How dare they kick you off, Tim?
And I realized, I still look at that was years ago, and I still feel bad about it. And it's like, why in the world did I ever? Why did I care? Why did I care? Why did I get so emotionally drawn up in something so silly? Because you look back at it now, and I'm like, I have an PS4 and an Xbox. Like, it didn't matter.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, it's like that Big Bang Theory episode where he couldn't decide, and then the store closed.
That passion project you're so enthralled about today, you're not even going to remember next year. So
and like that's literally why my own like Facebook page pretty much is just either random vacation photos sometimes, and most of the time it's just sharing Onion articles. Yeah. And I even censor those sometimes.
I like your Onion articles, Brian.
Well, thank you. And I try and be good, but like there's some articles there I look at Onion articles, I'm like, all right, they've gone too far. I don't feel comfortable sharing that, even though I get it that it's a joke.
Yeah.
But I don't share those. I don't share every one of them that I see. I just share the ones that I think are kind of funny and that I don't think will insult.
Yeah. All right. So for our two listeners that are left that hung through that.
Yeah, I know. Sorry.
We have to talk about the Fangoria Chainsaw Awards.
Yes. Well, I'm going to keep the soapbox out for one thing. No, I'm only kidding. I'm not. Well, especially because there's more of a confusion involved in it. Not so much. I was going to leave the soapbox out for it, but I think it might be an honest mistake. I can't figure it out, but we'll get back to you on that one. But we'll go through the awards now. And now this one is not going to be our preview, our picks by any means. This is just to announce the things. I think I think the deadline is pretty soon though, But I think the winners actually are announced like in the same night as the Oscars, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, they are. So,
but-
I guess we'll just tag team these, Brian. I'll just go through.
Yeah,
them.
yeah.
We'll just kind of whip through
Yeah,
the nominees. We won't spend a lot of time. Like I said, our preview episode, we'll go in a little more in depth why we picked our picks and stuff.
Right.
So first up, we have Best Wide Release Movie, and the nominees are Crawl, Doctor Sleep, It Chapter 2, Midsummer, Ready or Not, and Us.
Wow, that's like really solid.
Yeah, that's a solid category.
One. Yeah, and I just watched Ready or Not actually this week, and I won't say anything because I think in like 2 episodes we're gonna talk about that one. That's gonna be our feature film. So I won't really go into it, but it's really good. So yeah, next one. Next one is Best Limited Release Movie. And these are I will say I made a list. I am going to try and watch everything that's on this list that I have not seen to try and give a good, honest assessment during our preview episode. It's a task. There's a lot here this year. It's not like 5 movies being picked over and over again. So I don't know if it'll something I'll accomplish, but it's definitely going to be an attempt. This is one, though, Bliss, the first one for Best Limited Release Movie that I've heard a lot of good things, so I want to see this. It's Bliss, Daniel Isn't Real, In Fabric, The Lighthouse, which I'm very excited about. And I think we actually have that pegged for an upcoming episode.
I just watched that today. I forgot to talk about it, but I'll talk about it here in a second.
Okay. Well, don't go too much because I think it's a late episode. So I think we have it on the list coming up to do. All so we don't want to go in too depth. But yeah, that and Nightmare Cinema. And Lighthouse, I think I have arriving this week on Blu-ray, so I'll probably watch it.
And Satanic Panic. Don't forget that.
Oh, yep. Satanic Panic. Sorry, I didn't scroll.
So next up, we had Best Streaming Premiere Movie. And the nominees are Eli, In the Tall Grass, Little Monsters, The Night Shifter, The Perfection, and Velvet Buzzsaw.
Wow, bringing that back.
Yeah, it's an old
school.
It seems like old school, yeah.
I know. Wasn't that like 2 years ago? But no, it was early. It was one of our first, it was like in February of 2019 when we did that movie. And Tim and I both thought that was a really interesting take.
Very.
The next one is Best Foreign Movie. And this one's actually got some interesting ones. I haven't seen the first one yet, but I plan on seeing that anyway. It was Hagazusa. I know Tim saw that.
Yep.
There's Knife Plus Heart. This one this should be up for Best Name, which Coco Da. Luz or Lose. I'm not sure how that says. One Cut of the Dead, which is one I've been trying to watch. I just haven't got a chance to watch it yet. I'm dying to see this one. And then my favorite of the year, as I've said, which is Tigers Are Not Afraid. Which you haven't seen that yet, have you?
Oh, yeah, I watched it, yeah.
Oh, you did watch it? Oh, okay. Yeah. I wasn't sure if you saw it yet. Okay.
Best First Feature. This is an interesting category. We have Braid from Mitzi Perrone, Darlin by Pollyanna McIntosh, Girl on the Third Floor from Travis Stevens, The Hole in the Ground from Lee Cronin, and The Wind from Emma Tammy. I'm really excited to see The Wind. That sounds like an awesome kind of Western horror mashup.
Yeah, and this one is Best Series, and these are pretty much like, this is the one that you figure these are going to be the choices. But it's Are You Afraid of the Dark? That's obviously the new version of it. Castle Rock, Creepshow, Into the Dark, and Marianne. And I find it funny that Into the Dark is counted as a series, even though I know it is. But it's like, it's
a series of movies. And Stranger Things.
Oh yeah, and Stranger Things. What is with me in the scrolling? I apologize.
You're leaving off Nominee 6.
Literally, it's the next one, and this is a tough category because my heart is torn between Creepshow and Stranger Things, but we'll get into that later.
One. Next up is Best Actor. We have Winston Duke for Us, Leif Edlin Johansson for Coco Da, which I love that title. You're right.
Right?
You're
Isn't
very
great?
Right.
I already have a song in my head for it. But
Ewan McGregor for Dr. Sleep, Daniel de Oliveira for The Night Shifter, and Robert Pattinson for The Lighthouse. And I will say no more other than Robert Pattinson as Batman has been announced. And like many of you, all I could think of was Twilight, and why the hell is Edward the Vampire going to be Batman? After seeing The Lighthouse, I have no doubts he can play Batman. He really has the acting chops. So,
well, I don't know if you remember too. A lot of people thought, "Who the heck is Hugh Jackman in playing Wolverine?"
Exactly,
and we all know how that worked out.
Yeah,
I can't see anyone else as that role ever again.
Very impressed with his acting in The Lighthouse.
Yeah. So this is another really, really tough category, and that is because it's like, there's a couple of people one or two people just one person I'm not familiar with in this, and that's for the win, but I want to see that movie. But anyway, it's Best Actress, and that's Kiersey Clemons, who I think is awesome, and from Sweetheart, Caitlin Gerard in The Wind. And then the next three, wow. I mean, this is these are tough right here. Lupita Nyong'o in Us, which I think you'd almost she'd be a guaranteed winner, but the other two or the other ones are so strong too. Florence Pugh for Midsommar, and Samara Weaving for Ready or Not, and all these people in this. I'm sure just based on the trend, I'm gonna love Caitlin Gerard because every one of these actresses in this are my favorites.
Yeah.
So this is gonna be probably the toughest category for me to pick.
Best Supporting Actor, we have Alex Bro as in Depraved, Willem Dafoe in The Lighthouse, and I tell you what, that movie, I could see from a screen time perspective why Robert Pattinson got the nod for actor and Willem Dafoe gets Best Supporting, but I mean they are almost on equal footing in this movie, so it's hard to see him as a supporting actor in that film because
they probably did it they pulled an Oscar where they wanted to make sure they both got acclaimed but not go against each other.
Yeah, that's pretty much what they had to do. Fantastic. I just watched Willem Dafoe in Togo on Disney Plus, which is about the sled dog Togo.
Oh, I thought it was about the sandwich.
No, unfortunately not. But it would be cool. I'd watch a movie about Willem Dafoe eating a sandwich. I would
totally too,
watch
especially
that.
Togo sandwiches.
Yeah. And fantastic in that movie too. I love him. I love him in everything.
Yeah.
He's freaking awesome. He was awesome in The Lighthouse. We got Bill Hader for It Chapter 2, John Lithgow in Pet Sematary, and he still smells like old tobacco.
He does.
He really does.
He's totally old tobacco.
And Jackson Robert Scott for The Prodigy.
Right. In fact, I bet you I wonder if he'll show up in the old tobacco attire to accept his Chainsaw Award.
I really hope so.
Yeah. Okay, and then the next is Best Supporting Actress, and that's Kylie Curran in Dr. Sleep, Zoe Deutsch in Zombieland Double Tap. That's pretty good. She got nominated for that, actually. I always think she's such a great actress anyway, Zoe Deutsch. Rebecca Ferguson for Dr. Sleep.
Ooh.
Marianne Jean-Baptiste in Fabric. And Ruby Modine, look at that, for Satanic Panic.
Nice.
I like Ruby Modine. She's awesome in Happy Death Day.
Now talk about a very tough category. Listen to this one,
Yeah.
Brian. So, Best Director, we have Ari Aster for Midsommar, Joe Begos for Bliss, Robert Eggers for The Lighthouse, Jordan Peele for Us, and Shinichiro Ueda for One Cut of the Dead.
Yikes.
Wow, tough category.
You know what I'm actually a little annoyed with that didn't make any of these things is Beelzebooth.
Yes, that's an underrated gem, I'm telling you.
Yeah,
Underrated
and that
gem.
wasn't even for Best Foreign or the
Yeah.
Best Director.
Yeah.
And I'm a little concerned. Oh, and that's what I wanted to say, because about Best Director. So in the print version of Fangoria for January, if you've gotten it, Issa Lopez was listed for Tigers Are Not Afraid, and she would have been my pick hands down. Like I said, that's my favorite horror film I'd seen all of last year. I thought it was fantastic, and I thought she did an amazing job on it. And so when I saw and it's funny, I saw the online version first and was immediately saying, what the heck's going on? How was she not nominated for Best Director, especially when her film was nominated for Best Foreign Picture? And then I happened to be looking at the print magazine of Fangoria tonight before we started recording, and she was listed there. So I'm not sure what's going on. I actually was going to tweet at Fangoria or message them and find out what the deal is, because, I mean, maybe she was one of these is a mistake. I don't know which one, but I think she should be there. I don't like the fact that she's not, and also that it's, I hate to say this, but, then when a female director gets cut from something, sometimes you wonder. I don't think Fangoria is like that, though. So I don't know why she's not listed there.
Yeah. But we'll straighten that out.
Anyway, we'll get back to you on that. We'll figure that one out. But anyway, yeah, so I think, if not, she's the pick in my heart for Best Director. But the next one is Best Screenplay. And once again, Ari Aster for Midsommar, Guy Busick and Ryan Murphy for Ready or Not, Mike Flanagan for Dr. Sleep, Grady Hendrix for Satanic Panic, Jordan Peele for Us, and since I remembered to scroll this time, he didn't get. Jordan Peele didn't get. Oh no, there's one more. See, I did almost forget to scroll. Okay, and then the Shinichiro Ueda for One Cut of the Dead. Boy,
and
my
I did not realize
finger's not
I did
working.
not realize Grady Hendrix wrote Satanic Panic. I have gotten remember he did the fantastic Paperbacks from Hell nonfiction title,
yeah,
but he has some other great horror novels. Cone had actually messaged me one day because some of his books were on sale. So Cone came. Cone is great at making me spend money. By the way.
Oh my God! Did he ever? He made me buy the Genesis Mini because it was on sale one day for $35.
Yeah, he's
on
he's good for
GameStop,
that.
and he made me. Yeah,
he
Cone makes you spend money.
He nickels and dimes you. I mean, it adds up. You start taking Cone suggestions, it adds up. But yeah, I actually grabbed a couple of Grady Hendrickson's books because they're very highly acclaimed. I have not read any of them yet. But I'm I'm trying to actually work through my backlog right now, so I can get to his books. Best score: Cavern of Antimatter for In Fabric, The Haxan Cloak for Midsummer, Mark Corvin for The Lighthouse, the Newton Brothers for Dr. Sleep, and Simon Waskow for Luz.
Why did I see what this Luz
Hey,
is all
Luz.
about? Then best makeup effects, and I thought this name had to have been made up, but I guess it's someone real. Brittany Federline, because remember, Britney Spears was married to Kevin Federline.
You're right.
But it says, and Marcelo AMP.
That must be like I bet you that Brittany Federline is a nickname thing. I mean, it's got to be intentional.
Yeah, and that's for the Night Shifter. Then there's Mike Marino for The Dead Don't Die, which that's another one I feel like got really left out here.
Yeah.
For best actor and like Adam Driver.
Oh yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
And Bill Murray.
Give Bill Murray a nod. Come on.
Yeah. Dan Martin for The Girl on the Third Floor. Josh and Sierra Russell for Bliss. And Brian, again with the Britney Spears, Brian Spears and Peter Gerner for Depraved. What is going on with that category? That's odd.
All right, so best creature effects: Steve Boyle for Boar, Todd Masters for Child's Play. I'm not voting for that.
That mean I have to watch that movie?
Yeah. I hated the design for Chucky in that movie. Hated it.
I know.
Adrian Moreau for The Lighthouse, Neville Page for Sweetheart.
Never. Sorry, I always shout that, and I used to shout that in every Harry Potter movie. By the way, sorry, Amanda and Kev, but I know because that's like I know Amanda would probably yell at me if I screamed out something in a Harry Potter movie. But I always would go Neville.
Yeah, not to be confused with Aaron Neville Page.
No, not Aaron Neville, but I was a big fan of Neville Longbottom. Actually,
yeah.
So.
And Dan Rebert as Rebert. For Itsy Bitsy, and I always missed one right.
You almost pulled
Spectral
the
Motion.
Forget to Scroll.
Spectral Motion for Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. So I'm gonna have to watch some of these because I don't have a good grasp of some of these. I've heard of almost all of these, but I have not watched all of these. Obviously,
yeah. There's definitely some on there. Like I definitely want to see Sweetheart because I think Kiersey Clemens is awesome. Yeah. So I definitely want to see that.
Then of course you'll have the best kill category, which is a write-in.
Yeah, and actually I was reading some of the options, and it was one that Fangoria themselves was talking about, and then I realized that movie was completely ignored for this, and it was one of their own that they focused was the Furies. They had the axe to the axing off of the face.
Oh, I haven't seen that
one,
which I gotta watch that.
You gotta see that one. Yeah, that was a great one, and that's another movie that I thought should have gotten some more because I thought the lead actress was fantastic in this, and she was not listed on here. The movie itself,
or they were
was
maybe
great.
trying not to promote their own.
No, it's Shudder. I'm sorry, it was Shudder's thing,
Shudder,
not Fangoria's. Okay. Yeah, I meant to say it was one of Shudder's own. And that was so I'm surprised. Yeah, but oh well.
All right, well. So I guess it's time, Brian. So like I said, I did watch The Lighthouse. I won't go into any depth since we're going to do an episode on it. I really enjoyed it. Did I enjoy it as much as The Witch? Not quite, but very similar in tone. Very, very slow burny, and I can't wait to just talk about it on our upcoming episode. I did enjoy it quite a bit.
But with no Anna Taylor-Joy though. Huh?
No. Unfortunately, Robert Pattinson is no replacement for Anya Taylor-Joy, but he's still fantastic. And I did watch another film in my 40 Years of Terror project, but I think I'm just going to save that for next episode since we're running a little bit long because I really want to talk about it. It was a good one. So let's go through our horror preview. Like Brian said, we'll go through these fairly quickly because there's a lot of content here, but there are some that I want to point out. The movies, Brian, I guess we'll just kind of take turns. We'll go through all these categories. We'll just kind of take turns and discuss maybe one or two lines about each. So first up is movies we're looking forward to in 2020. We got Underwater. Brian, I did take The Grudge out of here because it has already been released and it got very bad reviews.
Yeah,
very.
Although it was I think it ended up in second place for the week.
It got very.
But that
I couldn't in good
of
conscience
Skywalker.
put it on my 2020 preview.
Yeah, I had it on just because it was technically,
Yeah.
it was on the list. But by the time, it makes sense because it's not a preview to anyone anymore.
So first up, January 10th, we got Underwater. A crew of aquatic researchers work to get to safety after an earthquake devastates their subterranean laboratory, but the crew has more than the ocean seabed to fear. I love underwater horror. I love anything aquatic, so this is right up my alley.
Yeah. The next one it comes out on 1/24. January is actually got a big horror month here. We got The Turning, and that's a young governess is hired by a man who has become responsible for his young nephew and niece after the deaths of their parents. A modern take on Henry James' novella, The Turn of the Screw.
Interesting. This next one is so anticipated. Color Out of Space, January 24th, 2020. Not only is it one of the rare Lovecraft adaptations that we get,
Nick Cage.
It's got the Cage himself.
Yeah.
I mean, a Lovecraft movie for Nick Cage? I couldn't write a better Tim project. A town is struck by a meteorite and the fallout is catastrophic. I've already heard good things about this movie, so I'm very, very excited.
Yeah. And think about it. What better person do you want fighting a catastrophic meteorite fallout than Nick Cage?
or seeing indescribable horrors. The only person that could describe an indescribable horror would be Nick Cage. That's
right.
a scientific fact.
It is, and this is one of those ones with a casting director, and no disrespect, but should not have been paid because it was too easy to cast this.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. All they had to do was just say, okay, plot, cat, that. Oh yeah, Nick Cage. So the next one is for January, finishes off strong, which is Gretel and Hansel, which is a long time ago in a distant fairy tale countryside. A young girl leads her little brother into a dark woods in desperate search of food and work, only to stumble upon a nexus of terrifying evil.
Yeah, and I've seen the trailer for this. It looks pretty cool, actually.
Yeah, no, it does. It looks pretty good.
The Lodge, coming February 7th. A soon-to-be stepmom is snowed in with her fiancé's 2 children at a remote holiday village. Just as relations begin to thaw between the trio, some strange and frightening events take place.
Thaw. Get it? And it's winter.
I like it.
Yep. The next one.
Oh my gosh!
This has got to be the
weirdest
thing
I've
projects.
ever seen.
Yeah. At Blumhouse, I'll tell you, they just always come with something. And this is Fantasy Island.
Yes,
The plane.
Fantasy Island.
Yes, that Fantasy Island, and it's a horror adaptation of the popular 70s. Okay, I can read. Popular 70s TV show about a magical island resort. But this time it's I guess there's a big horror element to this. But now there was a couple of episodes of Fantasy Island. I remember one specifically. There was a supernatural episode. So it wasn't like it ever didn't touch in certain times on horror. I mean, if you think about it, the premise is a little creepy to begin with, even though it featured some whimsy from the 70s there.
I mean, it's easier to make a horror version of Fantasy Island than a horror version of The Love Boat, probably, is what you're saying.
Although, now that you said that, I kind of want to see that, too.
Because you could have water zombies, so...
Yes, and imagine, Charo in a surprising turn, which is like, Gucci, Gucci. Like that. Wouldn't that be the best thing ever?
It would be. I'm on board for that, right?
I know.
I'm on
think
board.
There's our Kickstarter.
I'm on board.
All right, Blumhouse. So you're listening. We're on. We'll write it for you and everything. You don't have to do a thing.
Yes, we'll handle everything.
Oh my God, a horror love boat would be so awesome.
It'd be fantastic.
And it would not just be Ghost Ship.
No. Okay, next up, VFW on Valentine's Day, February 14th. A group of war veterans must defend their local VFW post and an innocent teen against a deranged drug dealer and his relentless army of punk mutants.
This is one of I want to see this so bad. Did you see the cast?
No,
that is in this?
I have not seen the cast.
Okay, I am going to read you the cast, and you tell me you don't want to
Tell
see
me it is
this
a bunch
even
of
more.
aging celebrities. Okay.
Martin Cove.
Nice. Okay.
Okay. William Sadler.
Nice. All right.
David Patrick Kelly.
Oh, okay.
George Wendt.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Yeah. I mean,
and Fred Williamson. This is gonna be like, this thing is, you got to look at there's a picture in the newest Fangoria of it, and like they literally George Wendt is sitting at the bar.
yeah.
So I mean
okay.
and think about it with Martin Cove. I mean, come on,
That's gonna be awesome.
this is just, I want to see this so bad. And even better, of course, is directed by Joe Bagos. So I mean, this is just gonna be this. I am so psyched to see. I cannot wait.
Martin Cove
So
needs to be
that's-
in way more stuff.
He does.
I mean,
and I got to meet him, and he's a really awesome guy, and he even like deals with crazy fans. I told that story a million times
Yeah.
at Chiller, but yeah, so he's an
because
awesome
I watched
guy, so I'm very
I watched
excited.
Cobra Kai season 2.
How good was that season?
Fantastic. I watched it just
Oh
recently.
my god!
And he was
Yeah.
so good in it. I was like, why? Where has he been? Like, what? Why is he not in more stuff? Really? Why is he
Seriously,
not? in
he
more
needs
stuff?
his own he needs to be the new, like, not a new one, but he needs to be like the elder Nick Cage.
Yeah,
you know, like he
yes.
needs to start being in those kind of movies.
Yeah, I'd watch any movie.
Imagine
with
Martin Cove, Nick Cage team up.
Oh my gosh! Yeah,
Would that be the best movie
it
ever?
would be. It would
Jeez.
be.
Oh.
All right, what's up next, Brian?
Is this mine? Oh, yeah. Okay. Brahms, The Boy 2. So this is with Tim's buddy, Katie Holmes. After her family moves into Hillshire Mansion.
Not to be confused with Hillshire Farms.
I know, I was
They
going to
make
say, is
ranch
this
dressing.
located on Hillshire Farms? Are they like, is she being haunted by ranch dressing? That's a whole nother movie. But,
Ooh, you're giving me ideas, Brian. Just keep.
I know,
this is
we've
like a
already
pitch
come up with, like,
meeting right here.
Literally, yeah, you guys don't steal any of this. We're going to make these happen. Their young son soon makes friends with a lifelike doll called Brahms.
This is the craziest movie to try to make a sequel out of, but okay.
Seriously,
Okay.
what the? Yeah, especially when it's not even the same. Like, maybe if it was like, it still had oh my god, what's her name? The one for Lauren Cohan.
Yeah.
If she was in it, like, and it was like her, like, dealing with maybe it, but the fact that they're just like
We're just gonna start
somehow
over.
this Brahms doll is back again. What? Where? It didn't break? What happened?
We're just gonna
I don't-
start over. We're just gonna make a different movie, but it's like not a
Yeah.
sequel. It's just kind of the same movie. We're just gonna call it 2. Yeah, I don't get it. I don't
Yeah,
get it.
I don't know about this one. I mean, I do enjoy Katie Holmes movies. She's good. So maybe, I'll probably watch it anyway. And plus now, because I own The Boy on Blu-ray, I'm going to have to eventually buy this one to complete my collection.
Yeah. Yeah. I wonder if she remembers me creepily looking at her as I turn around. I couldn't help it. She was standing right behind me.
I don't know, and the funniest thing is my mom ran into her too. And I will say this, I know the real name, but I'm going to say it as my mom pronounced it, as as moms have their own language. You'll never guess who I saw in the supermarket today. Katie Holmes and Siri. So, yeah. So I said, "Oh, was she on the phone? Is that how? Was she on her iPhone? Is that how you met Siri?" But yeah.
See,
So,
Brian knows I
course,
can't. After my run-in with Shannon Elizabeth, I can't. Like I stammer around beautiful women. I can't
Yeah.
talk around them, and when I see one in real life, I get speechless, and that's how I was. With
Yeah,
her.
but she was like, you had there were other ones at the Nerd User Horror Con you managed to get through. I don't know why that was.
I don't know.
Maybe because she was all kind of by herself. She was kind of like at a table, like separate, where it was like you were like on a stage to go see her
Yeah, it
almost
was
at some
yeah,
level,
I
because
don't
it
know.
was
It's just-
John Kassir was like a few feet away, and like that was, but it wasn't close enough, and she was kind of like in that separate table.
Yeah,
Maybe that was
I don't
it.
know. I don't know. I'm just not. I'm not a ladies' man, Brian.
And you talked to Darcy, fine.
Yeah, but Joe Bob was there, so kind of I don't know. Maybe it's
talked to
multiple people there.
You talked to Felissa Rose and Tiffany
Yeah, I
Shepard. Tim,
know.
you're selling yourself short. You
Ah.
had one issue.
One issue. Okay.
That was it. One
All right,
issue.
well, okay. Thank you, Brian. You know how to build me up.
Yeah, damn right. That's what a good co-host does.
Next up, this one looks fascinating. I love
yeah.
Kate Moss. I love her in anything. I mean, sorry, not Kate Moss. That's the model.
I know who you meant. The funny thing is, I knew exactly who you meant, and I'm like, I know it's not
now you
Kate
got me all
Moss.
flustered, Brian. I'm thinking of beautiful women. I'm thinking Kate Moss and supermodels. Elizabeth Moss. In The Invisible.
I actually think Elizabeth Moss is more attractive than Kate Moss.
Yeah,
that's just my opinion.
I would not argue with that. The Invisible Man, February 28th. When Cecilia's abusive ex takes his own life and leaves her fortune, she suspects his death was a hoax. As a series of coincidences turn lethal, Cecilia works to prove that she's being hunted by someone nobody can see. I absolutely love that they're doing this crazy take on the Invisible Man, which it's not that crazy because he was very much a psycho in the original. But
yeah, and this goes to this goes to your philosophy, which I quoted last night. I said, like, as Tim says, the Invisible Man is a dick.
Yeah, he really is. So I love this different take on it. I think it's gonna be really, really fascinating to see. Compared to what Universal would have probably done with it, which would have been a very straight, traditional, by the numbers remake. I think this is going to be very, very interesting. Yep. Yeah,
no, this should be good. Then this one, A Quiet Place 2. That's a big sequel.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah, this is actually, I mean, there's a couple of big sequels this year, but this is probably, I would say this is probably the definitely the top 4 of the big sequels that are coming out this year. And of course, following the events at home, the Abbott family now face the terrors of the outside world. Forced to venture into the unknown, they realize the creatures that hunt by sound are not the only threats that lurk beyond the sand path.
Yeah, and we're getting we'll get to that, but we're getting a Bird Box sequel as well. So
yeah.
Next up, Saint Maud on March 27th follows a pious nurse, pious nurse who becomes dangerously obsessed with saving the soul of her dying patient. Don't know about that one. I'm thinking Maud. I'm thinking B. Arthur. I just see B. Arthur.
I know, right? And then there's Maud, and maybe that song's in it. Maybe that's what. Yeah, I don't know. Wouldn't that be funny if they somehow mix that two-shot, like a horror version of Maud?
Now, we're really showing our age, but we are coming up with some fantastic Kickstarters.
Yeah, I think there should be a horror. And then they could have a whole, world of that. You know how those shows are all together, soap and everything?
Yeah.
And they could have Maud versus Rhoda. Kong versus Godzilla, which is coming up on our list later. We could have Maud versus Rhoda.
And then, Benson comes in from the side and just, really takes off. Yeah.
Yeah. Of course, Renee Bourgeois passed away recently, so there could be no Clayton sidekick. But anyway, let's move on because now we've gotten in a really bizarre off-topic loophole here. The next one is New Mutants. This one I'm really excited because this, of course, features Anna Taylor-Joy. Yep. And this is 5 young mutants just discovering their abilities while held in a secret facility against their will, fight to escape their past sins and save themselves. And I believe there was a big thing lately. They just announced that this will be the director's version of it coming out.
Nice.
So this is going to be not as cut as they were afraid it was going to be. So.
Yeah, which is kind of weird because every movie that comes out is technically the director's version.
Yeah,
but I was just saying he's not having to sacrifice his artistic integrity like Richard Grieco was forced to do.
I hope he's there at New Jersey HorrorCon again because that was the best.
I'll never forget David Howard Thornton. Richard Grieco was holding court.
Yes, that was the two of my most favorite lines from that was he was holding court, and then when Tiffany Shepis is just hashtag Richard Grieco.
Oh, good times. Yes. Next up, in April 17th, Antlers, a small-town Oregon teacher and her brother, the local sheriff, become entwined with a young student harboring a dangerous secret with frightening consequences.
And not to be confused with Sylvester Stallone's version with Rantlers, as he said in Rocky V. But okay. The next one, this is a big one that a lot of people are looking forward to, and that's Antebellum.
Yeah, this one looks cool.
Yeah. And it's a successful author, Veronica, finds herself trapped in a horrifying reality and must uncover the mind-bending mystery before it's too late. And this is that weird time-trippy one with Janelle Monáe, right?
Yeah.
It goes back and forth.
This one looks cool. Next up, we have an untitled Saw sequel, May 15th. This is the Chris Rock version, I guess.
Right, with Samuel Jackson, right?
I'm not going to try to do an impression of either of those gentlemen. Plot details kept under wraps, described as a reimagining of the horror film Saw, which at this point, that's all they could do is reimagine it because Jigsaw pretty much bombed, I think. So, yeah.
Even though I didn't think it was that bad, but yeah. Okay. The next one, here's another big one that everyone's looking forward to, is Jordan Peele's next foray, and that is a spiritual sequel. Oh, sorry, I should say what it is. Candyman, a spiritual sequel to the 1992 horror film Candyman that returns the now gentrified Chicago neighborhood where the legend began.
This
and of
could
course,
be amazing.
Tony Todd is coming back. Yeah, and Tony Todd's back. Jordan Peele's behind it. I think this is going to be. I think this is going to be a big hit. I don't know. I just have a feeling. I mean. The originals, and that's actually one. Did we list that as a possible summer
I don't think we
did.
I don't think we
Somehow
did.
we just did not put that on the list, even though we
right?
probably both had it. Yeah, there's 3 and now 4. So, I mean, this will be the 4th. So we could actually, maybe not for this year, or maybe it could be our 4th.
I don't know. It's coming out in
last
June.
one for this
We
year.
could do it for a
Yeah,
late.
we could maybe be able to get this in.
Yeah.
Because I know we want to do, we had the, well, we have it listed, but I got to look back. But we have kind of have 3 of them picked, I think, this year. I think Wrong Turn was one, right?
Yeah, that's a good one. Next up, not strictly horror, but definitely on our list.
Oh,
Ghostbusters Afterlife, July 10th. When a single mom and her 2 kids arrive in a small town, they begin to discover their connection to the original Ghostbusters and the secret legacy their grandfather left behind. And I just watched the Movies That Made Us on Netflix, their segment on Ghostbusters. And it was just amazing. Dan Aykroyd's so crazy. I love him.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, I can't wait.
Yeah, that'll be a big one. That'll be a huge movie this year. And then the next one is continuing this comic book horror trend that seems to be coming up, which and that's another one that I thought got the shaft on the Fangoria Awards was Brightburn, but I know you and I love that, and a lot of people didn't, which is probably the reason.
Yeah.
But anyway, and that one's Morbius. Biochemist Michael Morbius tries to cure himself of a rare blood disease, but he inadvertently infects himself with a form of vampirism instead.
Yeah,
Don't you hate when that happens?
I know. This sounds cool, though. I used to read the Morbius comics, so
yeah.
I'm looking forward to that one. Next up, August 14th, Malignant. Plot details may be very scarce, but the only 2 things you need to know are James Wan is helming, and it's a Giallo film, so I cannot wait.
That'll be good. That will be good. And the next one, I mean, this guess is a pseudo sequel, of course, at some level. I mean, it's kind of more of in a world, but The Conjuring, the Devil. Yeah, in a world where The Conjuring is a sequel. No, The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It, and that is plot unknown, and it's the 3rd installment of the Conjuring franchise.
I really enjoyed Conjuring 2. I really like that movie, so I am looking forward to a 3rd.
Yeah, that's another one we need to do, but it's like they keep adding to the whole thing. We want to do that whole James Wan universe, but they keep adding movies to it.
Which would be crazy. I think right now it's kind of getting ridiculous with all the Annabelle and stuff. September 25th, we have Last Night in Soho. A young girl, passionate in fashion design, is mysteriously able to enter the 1960s, where she encounters her idol, a dazzling wannabe singer. But 1960s London is not what it seems, and time seems to fall apart with shady consequences. That sounds interesting.
It's interesting.
Very interesting premise. Yeah.
Almost sounds like a Twilight Zone type of deal.
Sounds cool.
This one, I'm excited for that. So the next we got is The Witches, which is October 16th, 2020, of course. That's based on Roald Dahl's 1983 classic book, The Witches. The story tells a scary, funny, imaginative tale of a 7-year-old boy who has a run-in with some real-life witches. So that's the remake, right? I assume that's...
Yeah.
There was an earlier film of this.
Possibly,
right?
Yeah, I don't know. I have heard of the book, though.
Yes.
And then, of course, October 16th, Halloween Kills. The saga of Michael Myers and Laurie Strode continues in the next thrilling chapter of the Halloween series. And obviously, I'm so excited to see this because it was filmed here. We get to see all the locations in Wilmington. And
Tim and I have a picture in front of the Haddonfield Hospital,
we do.
Which was really the rec center.
Yeah, it was like part of the community college. But it doesn't. Unfortunately, we didn't catch it when they still had the sign up, which would have been really awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, well, we'll still have it.
Yeah.
So when you guys see the movie...
Yes.
Then we'll have to post the picture of us in front of it.
Yeah, we'll post the pictures. Julie took that picture, so we'll do that, and then we'll also do what we did last year. I think when the trailer comes out, we'll do our reaction.
Yeah, that was fun. That was a real
because that was kind of fun, especially that you found that great app that pretty much does all the work for you, which is pretty cool. And then another one, which is this is, even though the last one I was a little disappointed at King of the Monsters, but coming on November 20th we have Godzilla vs Kong, which I am super excited. It's 2 of my favorite monster movies in one. It says, as gigantic Kong meets the unstoppable Godzilla, the world watches to see which one of them will become king of the monsters. And that's great because the original was one of my favorites. And so now to see it with effects and probably a massively oversized budget, this will be great. This will probably be pretty cool.
Next up, we have The Collected, and they do that 3 in the middle, which is so annoying.
Yeah.
This is the 3rd film in the Collector franchise, which I have never seen, Brian. And I've heard such good things about the first 2 films.
I haven't either, yeah.
It's a follow-up to 2012's The Collection by Marcus Dunstan and Patrick Melton. So there was The Collector, then The Collection, and now The Collected. I guess
the next...
oh, go ahead.
Oh,
we probably have the same idea. The 4th one will be The Collecting.
Yeah, Tim and I, we jumped to get these jokes out, and we're both thinking the same thing. But the next few here are just we don't have a release date on it, but we'll just go through them quickly. As I'm thinking of ending things, and that's an unexpected detour causes a woman who is trying to figure out how to break up with her boyfriend to rethink her life. That's very Hitchcocky, Twilight Zone mix kind of thing.
Then we got Fear Street, a murder mystery shakes up the town of Shadyside, Ohio. Feature adaptation of R.L. Stine's book series. With the success of Goosebumps, probably no surprise that they're adapting the Fear Street series here.
Oh, yeah. Second to last one is Synchronic, which is 2 New Orleans paramedics' lives are ripped apart after encountering a series of horrific deaths linked to a designer drug with bizarre otherworldly effects. That sounds interesting.
And then, of course, we have Angela, the definitive sleepaway camp documentary, which we cannot wait to see.
Yeah, I'm not sure when that comes out, but I did donate to the Kickstarter, so that we should be getting that some point in 2020. I'm not sure, but obviously we'll keep you posted on that because our good buddy Felissa Rose is a big part of that, and anything she does, we will support and promote.
Yep. All right, so TV shows next up, Brian, and I have to take this first one because I absolutely loved.
Yes, that's got to be.
Love this book. Lovecraft Country is coming to HBO. This was based on a novel, which is really in some ways an anthology. It's a collection of short stories, but they're all related. The characters intertwine. It's perfect format for an HBO series. And as you guys know, a little bit of background. Well, let me tell you the synopsis. A young African-American travels across the U.S. in the 1950s in search of his missing father. That's a terrible description because the book is really a counter-argument to Lovecraft. So H.P. Lovecraft was... The unfortunate thing about him is, despite his fiction being so influential with all the Cthulhu mythos and all that, and countless games and novels and movies and stuff, all based off this work. But Lovecraft was a racist, and a pretty bad one, even for his time. It wasn't like, oh, he's just a product of his time. No, he was a bad guy. He was definitely a racist, and there's no sugarcoating it. But this book basically created Lovecraft stories with African American protagonists, and kind of as a counterbalance or counter argument to Lovecraft's writing. And it was phenomenal. Absolutely love this book. One of the favorites I read last year, by far, hands down. Cannot wait to see this series. I love everything Lovecraft, not because of the racism part by any means. It's one of those things you just have to kind of acknowledge it. And definitely not discount it, but acknowledge it when you're talking about him. But I'm glad things like this exist to bring awareness to that, but also still kind of create new stories in that world that he created. So really cool.
Yeah, that's supposed to be a great series. Next up, we have this was a cool sounding one. Is Dracula on Netflix. It's a limited series, so it's 1897 Transylvania. The blood-drinking count draws his plans against Victoria, London. Yeah. So I mean, it seems like it's just but I understand it's like a different take. They're saying
it is. I have heard good things. I have not watched it yet. I'll probably kind of knock it out here this week, maybe this weekend. But yeah, I have heard fairly good things about it. Sounds interesting.
Yes.
The Outsider on HBO, another one I am so excited about. Investigators are confounded over an unspeakable crime that's been committed. This is based on the Stephen King novel, fairly recent Stephen King novel, actually. And this one was a fantastic book. I really enjoyed it. It has some ties to his I forget the name of the trilogy, but he did a trilogy with End of Watch, and there's a whole Hodges, I think the Hodges trilogy, and it kind of ties into that a little bit. Really neat. It kind of goes back to more of the old school King style, so I think you guys are really gonna like this one.
Yeah, speaking of King, his offspring is responsible for the next one. That's Lock and Key on Netflix. It's Joe Hill's series, and that's 3 siblings who move into their ancestral estate after their father's gruesome murder discover their new home's magical keys, which must be used and stand against an evil creature who wants the keys and their powers. Now, is he doing the series, directing it at all, or did he just write the...
I'm not sure. This is based on a series of comics and graphic novels, and they are considered classics of the horror comic genre. So if any horror list you see of like best horror comics, Lock and Key is going to be on there, hands down, no questions asked. So this is really, really cool. this is being adapted for Netflix. Cannot wait. I did not read all of them. I think I read the first volume of Lock and Key, and it was really, really good. But yeah, I don't know the answer to that, Brian, whether he's actually directing any of these or not.
Yeah, it just looks like he wrote the comic books. Obviously he wrote the comic books, but I don't know. Yeah, he doesn't look like he's directing anything, but he's getting the the writing credits for the books.
Yeah.
So
next up, this one we had called this one back in a Ghostradamus a long time ago. Charles Chucky on Sci-Fi.
Yeah, so let me explain why I did that, because originally it was listed as Chucky on the thing, but when I looked up for the synopsis on IMDb, it was now listed as Charles.
Interesting.
So that's why I put Chucky in parentheses. So I think they're trying to do this whole kind of like is it, kind of like Chucky, but not Chucky, kind of like cool meta take. Maybe
I don't know. We'll see. A young couple moves into their first apartment and encounters a red-headed, freckled doll. Soon they discover that their home and doll reveal an evil presence. So we'll see how that turns out. That sounds really fascinating.
I mean, since it's called Charles and not Chucky, could it be Charles or could it be Archie Andrews? Just as a figure. We don't know. But yeah.
There's already a show for that.
Yeah, I know. But he's not as freckled. No. The next one is Event Horizon on Amazon. I can't find anything on this. In fact, I can't even find a date anymore. I just see things that it was due out this year, but it may or may not be out this year. But I put it on anyway because I think when it does come out, I think it'll be pretty popular.
Yeah, this next one I'm really looking forward to because I liked the original series. This is Penny Dreadful, City of Angels on Showtime. Brian, did you watch the original Penny Dreadful series?
I didn't, but
you really should, because if you like Universal Monsters from Horrified, I mean, this has basically every Universal monster in it. This series,
oh, nice.
And the original Penny Dreadful takes place in Victorian London. This one is going to take place actually in 1938 Los Angeles. It's inspired by the original series and explores a mix of supernatural and reality with characters connected to the deity Santa Muerte and the devil. So that sounds like a neat follow-up, spin-off kind of season to... Actually, I think Penny Dreadful had, I want to say, at least 2 seasons, possibly 3.
Yeah, I think at the 3.
Yeah, so
I think I looked.
It's kind of like a step forward for the series. Maybe not a direct continuation, but a spiritual continuation, which is neat.
Yeah. The next one we don't have much on, but it's kind of obvious anyway what it will eventually be about, even though it's a much maligned pilot that is supposedly getting totally reshot, and that's The Lost Boys coming to CW.
Yeah.
So that'll be, I think it'll debut this fall, though. That's all we know about it.
This one, no question. We're excited about this one. 10 After Midnight on Netflix. Acclaimed Academy Award-winning filmmaker Guillermo del Toro curates this collection of sinister stories, each more horrifying than the next. I mean, what can you say about that? I mean, that's awesome.
Yeah, all right. It's like I would say if I wasn't already paying for Netflix, shut up and take my money, but they already are. So I don't need to say that one again. Then the one of the final ones we have, and then plus 2 returning shows, which we'll just mention, which was Creepshow and Last Drive-In, of course. It's Reality Z on Netflix, and it's a zombie apocalypse set in prisons. Participants and producers of a reality show called Olimpo, the House of the Gods. The studio becomes a shelter for those who seek salvation in Rio de Janeiro, where chaos and hopelessness begin to rule. Another zombie thing.
I'm kind of over the zombie.
I mean, like Anna and the Apocalypse, I think was like the last thing of zombies that I really liked, that is unique, and and I don't know if I can watch. I don't know. I mean, I may watch this one just because it's a game show thing. But speaking of game shows, real quick, a little off topic. Have you seen that cool thing where it's the Jedi Temple Trials on Disney Plus game show?
Yeah,
where it's basically like that cool temple game that used to be on Nickelodeon.
Yeah, I used to love that show.
Like Star Wars.
Yeah, that sounds.
How cool does
really
that
cool.
sound? I'd like. Don't you want to like make yourself look super young and go on that show?
Yeah. I could. I used to watch that show all the time and dreamed of being on that. But I was thinking with my Spartan stuff, I could probably do some of those obstacles, but it would be much slower than the 10-year-old kids doing.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we did mention Shudder and The Last Drive-In, of course. We're coming back for their second season, so that'll be good. Books and comics. I did not, Brian, I didn't have any comics news, obviously.
Yeah, I couldn't find much.
Yeah.
I was looking all over, and I was like, hopefully Tim will find something else.
We had the Joe Hill comics that came out. They've already started, and,
right.
Some of those titles are actually debuting this year, so I guess you could throw those in there, but we've already talked about those. So go search those out. But we do have, some fantastic books. Brian, I found an article on 20 most anticipated horror novels for 2020, and
I think it's where I might have got some of these from.
There are some that are on this list and some that are not, but I have kind of decided. I've already made a spreadsheet, and I'm thinking I'm gonna try to buy and read all of these and review them on the show. The top 20 for 2020, because they all sound fantastic.
Well, I know there's one on here I saw. I'm like, oh my god, this is the biggest Tim one ever, and the Graham Masterson.
Oh
one.
yeah, Graham Masterson's great. These are not in a chronological order, guys. I was just kind of going through them.
Yeah.
We have a new Joe Hill novel, Up the Chimney Down.
I couldn't find much of a plot on that because I think they're trying to keep that.
Yeah, he just came out with,
wraps.
I told you, Brian, earlier in text, I bought my dad Full Throttle, which is his short story collection. I bought him a signed copy of that because he's a big Stephen King fan, but I don't know that he's read any Joe Hill yet. So I thought that'd be a great introduction. And signed copy would be kind of a cool bonus. So that'll be cool.
Nice.
Yep. And speaking of which...
Oh, yes. Sorry. I missed my cue. If It Bleeds by Stephen King. That's coming out May 5th, and it says a collection of the 4 uniquely wonderful long stories, including a standalone sequel to the #1 bestseller, The Outsider.
Yeah, so there you go. He seems to really enjoy this little world he's created with the Hodges trilogy and The Outsider and stuff, so it's not surprising to see him continuing that story. Next up, we have The Haunting of H.G. Wells by Robert Masello. This is coming out in August. It's 1914. The Great War grips the world, and from the Western Front, a strange story emerges. A story of St. Michael and a brigade of angels descending from heaven to fight beside the beleaguered British troops. But can there be any truth to it? Interesting. I don't know. That sounds very interesting.
And this next one will probably be a huge thing, and I'm sure a movie, right, you said is coming from this?
Well, I don't know that the movie's coming out, but I bet you there will be. Yeah.
I can't imagine it not be, And that's Mallory, which is, in parentheses, basically Bird Box #2 by Josh Mallerman. That's coming out July 21st. And it says, in the thrilling sequel to Bird Box, the inspiration for the record-breaking Netflix film that starred Sandra Bullock and absolutely riveted Stephen King, best-selling author Josh Mallerman brings unseen horrors to life. So I'm sure they're not going to give much of the plot away of this, but I'm sure you'll see more of the same from that was in the first.
Next up, we have The Haunting by Linda Duga. This is coming out in February. A dark family secret prompts a ghost to wreak havoc in this spooky novel in the spirit of Mary Downing Hahn. I like ghost books. So.
This is a Tim one, I think. Dracula's Child by Jonathan Barnes, and that comes out May 12th, and it says evil never truly dies, and some legends live forever. The dark heart of Bram Stoker's classic is reborn, capturing the voice, tone, style, and characters of the original, yet with a modern sensibility. This novel is perfect for fans of Dracula and contemporary horror.
I like it.
Yeah, it's got Tim all over it.
Yeah. The Living Dead by Daniel Kraus and George A. Romero. This is coming out in June. New York Times bestselling author Daniel Kraus, The Shape of Water, completes horror master George Romero's long-anticipated brand new zombie novel, The Living Dead. So this is that's neat. So this is going to be a posthumous release by Mr. Romero. That sounds really cool.
I feel weird reading this one because this is really the Tim one. But I guess I'll read it anyway. And that's the one we mentioned earlier, The House of 100 Whispers by Graham Masterson. Comes out October 1st. We know that's one of Tim's authors he really likes. It says, Dartmoor, with his mist, bleak winter weather, and overwhelming sense of isolation, it's the perfect place to build a prison. It's not a place many would choose to live, yet the governor of Dartmoor Prison did just that. When Herbert Russell retired, he bought All Hallows Hall, a rambling Tudor mansion on the edge of the moor, and lived there all his life. Now he's dead, and his estranged family are set to inherit his estate. But when the dead man's family comes to stay, the atmosphere of the moors seems to drift into every room. Floorboards creak, secret passageways echo, and wind whistles in the house's famous priest hole. And then, on the morning the family decide to leave All Hallows Hall once and for all, their young son Timmy goes missing. Timmy!
I hate when that happens.
Oh my god, this is totally
Why you do this to me, Timmy?
It even stars you. Timmy, why you do this to me, Timmy? Oh my god, Ken's going to have a field day with that one.
All right, so Brian, I don't know. Cone leaked this to me earlier. I had already seen it on my 20 anticipated horror list, but you remember World War Z, the famous zombie book by Max Brooks. Well, he's coming out with a follow-up. This is not a sequel to World War Z. This is called Devolution, a first-hand account of the Rainier Sasquatch Massacre. So he's going full Bigfoot, and I cannot wait.
Yeah.
This is going to be freaking
Yeah.
awesome. So May 12th, I'm definitely buying that and reading it.
Way to go, Colin.
Yeah. And then, Brian, I left this one just for you because this was the number one top anticipated top anticipated book on my top 20 for 2020. I know nothing about it other than the title, and it looks amazing.
Yeah, well, Clown in a Cornfield. Is it like the candy corn?
I don't know.
That movie was supposed to be out, but it wasn't on any of the lists. The Barn 2, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
It's supposed to be out in 2020, but I didn't put it on there because I didn't see it anywhere.
I don't know that it got funded, really. It was a Kickstarter or Indiegogo or something.
I saw someone say that was their most anticipated movie, so maybe it's still coming. I don't know. But yeah, Clown in a Cornfield, that sounds cool, by Adam Cesare.
I've read some early reviews, and they said basically it starts off very slashery, old school slashery, and then it just turns crazy. So I'm really looking forward to that one.
Yes, I will probably be getting that one as well. Good old Adam Cesare. Yeah. I don't know who he is, but he's writing after my heart.
Now,
so
I did look for some board games, Brian, and I really couldn't find anything. And it's not surprising because you really don't see a lot of the upcoming board games until you get closer to Gen Con, which is about middle of the year.
Yeah, it's a weird. I've noticed that by doing research, especially now that I'm the newbie into the games.
Yeah, you're going to start seeing that when the first conventions start. Is when you're really going to see the new games start coming out. So, no board games, but there will be. Trust me, there will be horror board games coming out.
Well, and I'm hoping. Yeah, I just hope there's something like I'd love to like a sort of like a ultimate kind of Horrified, but with all like the best slashers out there, or something like that.
Well, you did read, Brian, that the same company that made Horrified is doing a Back to the Future cooperative game.
No, I didn't see that. Yeah. Really?
They are doing a Back to the Future game.
Oh my god. Okay, there's a shut up and take.
Yeah, where you're basically trying to fix, just like the theme of the ride at Universal. You're basically trying to fix Biff's travels through time where he's screwing stuff up. You're having to go behind him and try to fix everything before the universe
explodes.
My
god! So what? How is it's obviously not a lot of characters. There's probably just Biff.
Yeah,
right? There's one person play Biff, and then one, or is it all? I think
this one's like Horrified. It's all cooperative, from what I can understand. I don't know that for sure. There's not a lot of details about it. They are announcing that one at Gen Con, so we'll know more in June for sure.
Ooh, okay. See, now this is the one year you make me really want to go to Gen Con one of these days because you got me all excited with this. And the Jaws game looks so fun because I watched that playthrough and I have the game, but I think I want to wait until we get Julie and I was thinking of us playing that, but it really seems better if there actually is 4 players so each.
Yeah.
Because if you do 2, it's like one person plays the 3, Hooper, Quint, and Brody, and the other one plays a shark. But it's probably more fun when there's 4 players. Because that playthrough I watched with a Game the Game looks so much fun.
That's one reason I haven't bought it yet, to be quite honest, is I don't have 4 people that'll play it. My gaming group will not play it. They're not going to play it because it's. Yeah.
Well, if all goes well and you can make it to HorrorCon, maybe I'll bring it, and maybe we can probably find 2 people, 2 buddies, 2 con buddies over there. And you know what? We'll bring the game and set it up right in our little spot in between the 2 hotels where we have our beer and people keep walking.
Yeah,
by.
Richard Grieco will play with us, I'm sure.
Oh, are you kidding? He's gonna always want to be the shark.
All right, so we do have some video games to talk about. So we got Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2, March 31st. Based on the popular tabletop game Vampire the Masquerade, Bloodlines 2 is set in a setting known as the World of Darkness. The game will follow the story of a human from Seattle who wakes up as a vampire after being killed. Upon realizing they are now a vampire, players must upgrade their powers and join one of the 5 blood clans. And I used to play Vampire the Masquerade. That was a tabletop D&D game, but you were vampires. It was really, really fun.
I like that, and it's for it's got Xbox One, PlayStation 4, and PC. So that's good. Got some good choices there. Next one is System Shock, and that again is also for the same Xbox One, PlayStation 4, and PC. We don't have a full release date on that. The first one was March 31st. This one just says anytime Q1. Yeah, video game releases are weird. Sometimes they don't have an exact
date. They get pushed.
And anyway, yeah, and they moved around all the time and stuff. But this one is in System Shock. Players will play as a renowned hacker who is considered by many to be the best in the business. However, a hack goes wrong. You find yourself indebted to a greedy executive. A few months later, after waking up from a coma, the world around you has changed and feels abandoned, even though it isn't. I'm not sure why this is horror so much, except I guess maybe for the...
Oh, I'll tell you, Brian. This is based off this is based off a very old game called System Shock. And System Shock had you waking up basically in a spaceship that's controlled by a rogue AI. And it was really scary. Very, very scary game. Yeah,
okay, cool.
And it's a classic. System Shock, the first original System Shock, was an absolute classic of PC gaming. So this looks like a successor, like a modern successor to that, which I can see would be really cool.
Oh, nice.
Next up, we have The Last of Us Part 2. Very highly anticipated. This is for PS4 only, May 29th. The Last of Us was another zombie game, but it was actually a lot of fun. It had you played a dad who was guiding his daughter through the zombie apocalypse, basically. Lots of fun.
I think DHT loved this game. I saw him tweet about it.
Fantastic game. This is the sequel. 2013 PlayStation exclusive sequel. The game will take place 5 years after the events of its predecessor and follow the story of an older version of the main character, Ellie, which we now know is the only playable character this time around. So in the first game, you played... I can't remember. I think there were some sequences where you switched to Ellie, but you mainly played her dad. And I think this one you can only play her. So for what? But that's a great game. Even though it's zombies, it's actually really, really good.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I've heard nothing but good things about this game. This next one is and that, by the way, of course, is a PS4 exclusive. This next one is interesting. It's called Carry On, and this one is for everything. It's Xbox One, PlayStation 4, PC, the Switch. Comes out June 1st. It says, Carry On is not your everyday horror game and sounds like a lot of fun. In Carry On, players will play as a monster who will stalk and consume its enemies. Your goal is to spread panic and destroy the prison that is holding you captive. Throughout the game, players will learn of new abilities that will allow them to cause even more destruction. That one sounds
So you're
fun.
playing as a monster, which is kind of neat. Okay.
Yes. That's always kind of fun when you flip the script a little bit.
Monstrum 2 is coming out 4th quarter 2020, Xbox, PS4, and PC. Monstrum 2 is a 4 versus 1 adventure horror game where players are split into teams of 4 and must hide from a vicious monster. Players must work together to escape the monster before it finds them first. Monstrum 2 will take place in a sea fortress, which will have a changing environment from game to game. Players must find the different escape routes and learn the map inside and out before they get devoured. Additionally, one way that Monstrum 2 will be different from its predecessor, which I've never heard of, is that each round a player will get to play as the monster. I have not heard of the first one of these, but I'm not a big fan of those asymmetrical type games, video games, but I mean, where one person's the monster and the rest are survivors, with the exception, of course, of Friday the 13th, which is kind of the same style, but interesting.
But that one's I mean, most of it's funny. I always thought it'd be fun to play Jason in those games, but I actually enjoy being the counselor more, running from him.
Yeah, I do too. I think that's the problem with any of those asymmetrical games is like one side is always a little bit more fun than the other.
Yeah, I mean, Cone, he doesn't mind. He just always does random stuff. But when we play, when I play, I never pick Jason anymore because it gets more frustrating to me.
Yeah.
I don't know.
The big event, of course, that we have for 2020 that we're hoping comes together is Halloween Horror Nights 2020. I think, Brian, this is going to be a huge year.
Oh, yeah. 30th anniversary, yeah.
We have got to get down there for this. And even better, there is... Are we allowed to say that, Brian? Is it that far?
Yeah, well, I mean, I know they've teased it. I don't know how much official it is yet, so don't hold me to this. But I know I know they're going to try. They're going to be down there, whether or not it becomes an official thing or a side meetup. But I know Costa Radio is going to be hopefully doing something around that time of year, so that they'll be in Florida at that point. Hopefully, I think they're going to try and do something in Tampa, Busch Gardens, Tampa. But maybe there'll be a combo there with everything. And be down there. But I know if we're down there I know Tim and I, if we're down there for Tampa, we're going to be down there for Orlando.
Yeah,
too.
and this has already been cleared with the family. I mean, I've already told Olivia we're going to this. This is the one trip we are going on this year, hands down. Now, granted, I don't know where we're going to be with the house at this point. Barring some weird coincidence that we were closing on the house or something that exact weekend be the only thing. But even then, I think we could somehow work around it. So.
Well, you could drive. You have the advantage. You can
drive. And I've talked
to
Kevin. He's planning on doing it. So I think everybody's in on this. We're bringing the kids because the kids want to go back to Universal. They're really excited about going back to Universal. We'll figure out something to do with them during Halloween Horror Nights, as we did last time.
Yeah, well, if they're worst comes to worst, there's the
parent swap.
Because I know I'd want to do the RIP tour again, and it's funny because so originally I was talking to Julie, I'm like, yeah, we got to go down there if we do this, we'll do the RIP tour, but I said we'll do it on the cheap this time, and but the other day she was saying, she goes, yeah, but I know if I'm down there, I'm gonna kind of want to stay on property, and so I'm like, oh, this is end up gonna be a good trip. I didn't want to assume like I'd be fine just crashing at like some cheaper hotel, but then again, it's like, she made a point. It's like, if you're gonna go down there, and it's like there's so many benefits staying on property, because I was like not even like saying, like, I would say forget even going to Universal for the day, just worrying about Halloween Horror Nights. But it would be nice because I have not been on the Hagrid ride, and plus I always do love Universal, and staying on property there, especially if you can get one of those deals like we got the last time.
Yeah. When I discussed it with Olivia, I was telling her, I really want to go on this trip. I know it's going to be expensive, and I know. She was like, you know what? The kids want to go back. They're dying to go back. She was like, let's go down there and do it. And when I did mention staying off property, and she was kind of the same way. She was like, why? Like, we need... I want to stay on property, and I want to have a place where the kids can go during the VIP tour, where they had like daycare. Yeah. She said, I love that. I love that we had all that set up, and she's like, I want to stay and make sure all that's taken care of. So she actually wants to stay on property again. So yeah, we're saving up for it. That's going to be our one big expenditure this year. Frivolous.
Okay, so we'll get together on that one. We'll make sure like all of us will go and we'll time it again, because you never know too, because like if Kev we can like figure it out so we can maybe like people share certain things. We'll try and get it so that it makes sense for everyone to get down there, because that'll, especially if everyone's around, even if like it's not an official thing from Coaster Radio or anything, it's just there's something, it'll be great. Someone teased it, if you saw in the chat room, that guy, one of the guys that's an RIP tour guide, basically made his Coaster Damas prediction that like everyone would be down there and he'd be the guide of an RIP tour, so that'd be kind of cool. So he did say that on their Facebook page. So I mean, it's not like it hasn't been mentioned. I just don't want to speak.
They're going to have record crowds this year, for sure.
Oh my God, yeah, and it's early. It starts earlier this year. It's the longest one it's ever been. I mean, basically, I don't want to like say anything because I don't want to step on any predictions so far. But we'll probably like we did the last time we went. Once we know for sure that we're going, we're gonna probably do a ton of like preview stuff on it. I mean, there's already like little teases and stuff. I mean, I have some predictions in my head already. What'll happen, but I can't imagine them not going all out for the 30th anniversary.
Oh my gosh!
Of this event, which is like the premier horror event in the theme park world, and last year, from what I understand, it was funny. It was like a lot of people like were just not as thrilled. It seemed. It seemed like the year we went, it was nothing but excitement on it. And I thought maybe it was just because we weren't there. We kind of read it that way. But I saw people that have gone both years and said, yeah, it just wasn't as good last year. And it's probably because, they were probably already had major
They were looking
plans
ahead.
For this
year. They were looking ahead.
Yeah, they peaked ahead one more year later. So, so I think this one will only be like that. I mean, I wonder if, like I said, I don't want to do the predictions yet. We'll worry about that. Maybe we'll do like a special like bonus segment, which we can now because we'll have the Dismemberment on a separate thing. We can do like a super early crazy prediction show for Halloween Horror Nights.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Yeah, we're definitely going to make that happen somehow, some way. That's my one trip.
I don't know what we need to do. Yeah, I don't know even if all of us are 10 of us are in one room.
Yeah, we'll pile everybody on a couch. I've got a sleeping bag. I will sleep on the floor. I'm not scared to sleep on the floor.
Yeah, Julie and I have our camp beds. We will roll those up if we had to, and we'll get like maybe we'll just get the biggest suite ever and just crash.
I mean, for the hurricane, I slept in a data center, literally a data center. I had an air mattress and a sleeping bag. I was happy as a bug in a rug. I'm fine. Yeah, I could sleep anywhere.
Yeah. Oh yeah. The adrenaline will keep us going. So,
Brian, we're approaching 2 hours. I'm thinking we just kind of wrap it up, and we will push. Next episode will be more of a traditional format where we'll have our beer pairing and trivia and all that.
Yeah, we'll do the beer pairing. We'll do the game. So you got another week to figure out that last trivia one. Should we reread it again just so
Wouldn't
people...
hurt to reread it. I don't think it would hurt.
Yeah, let's read the one that's there that you get one more week to do.
One more week on this one, guys. You probably forgot about it over the holidays, but this is our triple threat. We were looking for an actor or actress. And the clue number 1, before I began my acting career, I briefly taught high school drama in my hometown. Clue number 2, I have a daughter who also acts, and we have worked together in projects. And clue number 3, while I've had over 200 roles, my most memorable ones had me playing a mother. Who am I? So that is your refresher for our triple threat. We will have the answer for you next week, along with a new question, and we were, of course, going to cover the long-awaited Drag Me to Hell. I promise we will get to that one.
Yeah, I watched it 3 times because we keep pushing it, but I love that movie. I could watch it.
I watched it back before the holidays, but I need to watch it again. It is such a great movie. Sam Raimi's awesome.
Yeah, that's one of those ones I could watch like at any time. I love it. And actually, I just saw an article recently about Justin Long saying he wanted a sequel.
Oh, and then you heard about Sam Raimi's talking about a possible new Evil Dead movie starring Bruce Campbell. Possible.
Yeah. Yes,
Fingers crossed.
He wants to do that.
So we'll see. Guys, thanks for hanging in here for 2 hours. I know it's a big episode, but it was our kickoff of season 4, so it needed to be a little bit extra special. And we'll see what you think about the... I don't know when the first standalone Dismemberment will be for January, because we got to get our timing right. Because I think going forward, we're probably going to want to do these where we'll probably record them at the end of the month for the following month and release them early, like maybe the first week or maybe in the first day of the month, and then give you the preview. I mean, Brian, one option is we could just kind of do a quick glance over January and just do the official kickoff in February for the Dismemberment. So we'll figure it out.
Yeah, we could do something. We'll figure it out. Oh, and one more thing before we go. Just keep an eye out on social media, because we may get an announcement on a way you can start having a little more civil gore in your daily life, in terms of maybe a shirt, perhaps, or
maybe
a mug.
Long requested shirts.
Yeah, so keep an eye out, because we're on the verge of announcing something.
All right, guys, thank you so much for 3 successful seasons. We're looking for many, many more, and I cannot wait for season 4. I think it's going to be fantastic.
Yes.
All right, and we didn't cover a movie, so I have no warnings for you this week.
Yeah,
so,
got nothing.
I guess just take care, be kind, don't beat up on people for liking Rise of Skywalker or not liking it.
Yes. Be kind.
Later, guys.